Is the recent WoW lore any good? Depends on who you ask. I mean, I think the overarching narrative in WoW with the first ones and like the gods of the gods is kind of lame, and I'm not like a big fan of that, depending on how they choose to, where they choose to pull that, what direction they're going in is kind of up in the air still. Unfortunately, with World of Warcraft, it's not as predictable, and I don't think that's a bad thing as 14. In some regards, specifically like context clues on narrative direction, Blizzard's not always too great at giving those. But I do think that the lore about the primals and stuff like that is interesting. I don't know. I could get behind it. It's frankly the reason why I like the primals lore, which if you guys don't understand what that is, basically like there's the dragon aspects in World of Warcraft. If you guys aren't familiar with them, that's like Neltharion, that's like Alexstrasza, that's like Ysera, that's like Malygos, right? They didn't originally have the powers that they have now. Like they were literally genetically enhanced by a Titan like servant construct thing. And basically the lore in the most recent expansion is talking about like how did that happen? Like where did that power come from? You know, and it came from these like super old drakes that are like really pissed off about the Titans' intervention and meddling on Azeroth, because those drakes were around before the Titans came around and fucked with everything. So like there's some cool lore there. Like I think I can get behind that because it's another anti-Titan plot. You guys, if you know about how I feel about the Titans in World of Warcraft, it's very evident that I think that them being bad guys is a really cool way to take the plot. I don't see any other way that they can do it, considering that they've literally tried to scour the entire world of life before because they considered us to be corruption. So like, I don't know. But yeah, anyway, it's there's some cool lore. It just depends on who you ask and how you look at it, and it's like there's a certain, like, the lore is good to a point, right? As soon as you like go past the Legion and the Titans and the old gods, it kind of gets a little stupid, because then you're hitting like the Jailer and the first ones and like all this bullshit that kind of is like has never really existed canonically in the universe up until very recently. So it feels like pushed into the narrative where it doesn't really belong. And I think that's like one of the biggest things that WoW's narrative suffers from, is that like it just feels kind of clunky. Like it happens and you're like, I don't know. That's so you're telling me all the Lich King stuff was this other guy? The whole time it was like this other guy that was behind the scenes, and it wasn't the Legion, and it wasn't it was the Dreadlords technically, but it wasn't really what we thought it was. It's weird. It's weird. Didn't they set up that the Jailer has a boss too? Well, I think they set the Jailer up so that like the Jailer's essentially a construct given life. And so, if you guys don't know this, the Jailer's a robot. So, like, he's literally like a fucking a doll that's animated with like a soul, essentially. And the fucking thing that the fucking Arbiter had in her chest, the black orb that looked like it went in the chest of Zoval, who had literally a hole in his chest where the thing would go. Guess what? It did belong to him. That's where it was supposed to go. So, like, the Jailer, if I'm remembering correctly, I think the Jailer was like originally in the position of the Arbiter, and the Arbiter, I think, was only like sanctioned into its role after shortly after or during the Jailer's imprisonment. So essentially like they locked their brother away for trying to reach for universe bending power, because he was trying to allegedly restore or change the universe in such a way to avoid something that's coming that was not disclosed to us. So all of the plot of Shadowlands is basically the crash and burn of Sylvanas Windrunner, and it being revealed to us that all of the Lich King stuff, all the Dreadlord plot, all the manipulation of Sargeras via the Dreadlords was all done at the behest of the Jailer, who was trying to escape an eternal imprisonment that his brothers and sisters put him into because he stepped out of line and did something that he wasn't supposed to do. I want to throw this out there, you guys. That's incredibly similar to what happened with Sargeras. I just want to put that out there, that like he's kind of like the Jailer in that he felt that there was something wrong with the universe. He reached and grasped for a power that was forbidden, i.e. fell for Sargeras, allegedly, demonic power, and his brothers and sisters punished him for it. At least that's what they wanted to do, right? It's written in such a way in the Chronicle that Sargeras beats the shit out of the Titans, and he's just all-powerful. It's just crazy to me. I don't know. I just don't believe all that still. Like, I don't even know if I believe that Sargeras 1v7'd the other Titans. Like, it's just blows my mind. That's also Illidan, isn't it? It is Illidan. Yes, it very much is. Illidan is the microcosm of Sargeras, always has been. Malfurion's the microcosm of Aman'Thul, and Tyranda's the microcosm of Aenar. So when you think about the two brothers and the girl that gets in between them, I'm fucking telling you right now, brother, your crusade is over. Aman'Thul and Sargeras are brothers. And Aenar is a fucking problem, I'm telling you. She's part of the reason why Aman'Thul and Sargeras, I think, fight at all. Why they even have a problem with each other. Life, Aenar, she's a complication. Just fucking saying. So, like, I do believe that the Titanic macrocosm of Illidan, Tyrande, and Malfurion literally is Sargeras, Aman'Thul, and Aenar. And there's a lot of evidence to support that. But who's the hottest chick in WoW, though? That would be Alexstrasza. Yeah, that would be Alexstrasza. I just can't, I'm sorry. I just can't get around that fact. I think it's just gotta be Alexstrasza. That's factual information right there. I just treat SL as a pizza-induced nightmare. Pizza-induced, I like that. I wish I could have more pizza-induced nightmares. She's the dragon mommy, right? She is. Yo, High Inquisitor Whitemane's also pretty fine. Yeah, she's maybe like more OG fine. But yeah, she's the dragon mommy, queen of the dragons. Yeah. Yep. Also, want to throw out there, the three, I would say the three most involved aspects, if you want to look at another... So, okay, let me say this. The story in World of Warcraft literally has repeating themes and cycles that happen with different characters, but their base plot lines are actually incredibly similar. You can actually look at the same thing that happened with Sargeras, Illidan, the Jailer. It's actually also occurred with Deathwing. If you want to look at Deathwing, Alexstrasza, and Nosdormu, it's kind of insane to think about that, like, when you look at those three, you can almost see Sargeras, Aenar, Aman'Thul once again. And frankly, when you look at their powers, Deathwing is like this all-powerful, roiling with fucking... Well, technically it was Neltharion originally as well, right? What did Neltharion do? Got in touch with the powers that be, reached into a power that he was not supposed to have, and guess what? His brothers and sisters fucking punished him for it. Just like, I'm just telling you, it's... You see these repeating themes in World of Warcraft. They're all over the place. So yeah, and it's funny because Nosdormu literally goes mad and turns into Murozond because he sees the fate of the world should the timeline continue, and it literally drives him crazy to the point where he wants to try to fucking break the timeline because he's terrified of what would happen if the timeline continues. So I just want to throw out there that, like, Murozond went crazy because of what was what's allegedly supposed to happen if what they're doing is all successful. So that's why Nosdormu... Ooh, I'm lagging here. That's why Nosdormu went crazy, turned into Murozond. Because of what he foresaw occurring. Yeah, but yeah. So, as you guys can tell, even though I don't play the game anymore, I have no problem sitting and talking about World of Warcraft lore. I still think that Look, let me put it this way. Don't get me wrong, I love speculating about Final Fantasy's lore. It's super fun. And I do feel like because of the consistency and the continuity in the story, that it is in some cases easier to predict things in this game. This game just has that conceptual continuity to it, and I feel like World of Warcraft doesn't. And so sometimes like speculating for World of Warcraft is like more fun because you're probably gonna be wrong, to be honest with you. But because it's more open to interpretation and it's not quite as like tightly crafted as Final Fantasy's lore, I feel like it's just like more like gets like crazier and just like more outlandish, and I think that's fun. I don't know. I think that's super fun. Coming up with a theory of believing that the Titans are some crazy evil like antagonists, like why not? You know? But there's only so much you can do to like stretch the imagination in Final Fantasy, because it's like, nah, well, they kind of just, it's just not like that. Like they pretty overtly tell you factual information usually. And then the books are consistent with that. Thank God. FF14, it was the Allagans, Ancient/Allagans. Wow, it was the Titan/First Ones, basically. Essentially, yeah. So think about this. The first ones would be like if we found out that there was a god that created the Ancients. That's what the first ones would be. You know how like the Ancients to us are kind of like gods? It would be like there's something above them. In this case, the first ones made the ancients, so it's like a power level up, and that's what I worry about with Final Fantasy. That's what a lot of people bring up is the power scaling. Once you go to that level, is it good to go above it? And I think that if you look at World of Warcraft, narratively speaking, I don't think it is. I think that there's a lot of ways to tell impactful, meaningful stories where you feel threatened or someone else's life feels threatened or something like that. It doesn't even have to be a threat necessarily, and like have that be a satisfying narrative experience. And I don't think that you need to always keep reaching for the stars. I think that's a gigantic mistake of World of Warcraft, and I think it starts to make people feel apathetic and not really feel as though the power scale of certain entities is very big, like that it's very cool. Like if they ever decide to come back with the Titans and give a display of power, a true display of power to like really shake the foundations of like, dude, these things are fucking terrifying and they're massive and like they're more powerful than we think. I worry that in World of Warcraft that people would not really understand why that power scale exists, because there's many people that still believe that Titans are on the same power scale as old gods, and that's just simply not true.